Hey folks, and welcome back to another one. I hope you're all doing well. With ice fishing right around the corner, and with people heading to the stores to purchase their favorite lures and to search for new baits, I figured I would bring you folks a video on my personal favorite lures to catch a burbot on. Ling, eelpout, lawyer, dogfish, slimy boy, dispenser of white substance, and clothing stainer. These are some of the names that are commonly associated with the burbot. They are a shy, depth-dwelling bottom feeder that are found in many lakes in Canada and in the United States. They usually restrain themselves to about 60 to 100 feet of water during the day, but can also be found in deeper water. But during the night, they will travel up into those shallow waters in that 25 to 40 foot range in search of feed and forage. Like I said, 25 to 40 feet of water is where you want to be targeting these fish. On those big flats and mid-lake humps is where you will find them. Those humps coming up from a deep depth, likewise with those flats coming from a deep depth, where those burbot will come up onto that flat to search for food. Now I know by no means are burbot hard to catch, but there are a lot of options out there for what lures you could use to catch these fish. So today I will be showing you folks my favorite lures to catch burbot. Number one, the ReelBait Tournament Series Flasher Jig. This bait is easily my favorite to use for burbot fishing. The glow paint on this lure really shines in the darkest places and can really attract those fish from a long ways away. The willow leaf flasher also provides great flashing and lots of vibration to attract those fish and to help them detect the bait when it's in the dark. I primarily like to use this bait in the dark with a live minnow hooked just to the back here, through the back of the minnow, so it can swim around while it's sitting. The reason I like this lure the most is because the way it sits. It sits with the hook about 1 inch off the bottom, allowing that minnow room to swim around, and it allows those fish to detect that movement and to easily pick it up. With the hook being the only thing exposed, they easily come up, grab that, and that's all you need to do and set the hook. It'll hook them perfectly in the snout every single time. And using this lure, I like to fish primarily leaving it on the bottom or just lifting up maybe like 1 inch off the bottom. But if you're ever hitting a lull, it doesn't hurt to give it a few jigs. That willow leaf will really attract those fish in, and you'll see a lull go to a lot of fish in your area in a few minutes. A big thing I would like to also recommend when you guys are fishing for these burbot, you have to chum your hole. Any hole that you're fishing, that you plan on fishing, you want to put some dead bait down there. It'll really stink up the area, attract those fish in. They'll stick around eating that chum all night long, and you can catch a lot more fish by chumming your area. You can really help drag those fish to your area, especially when competing with other anglers. So that'll really help you guys out in the future. Number two is the Big Nasty Tackle Trout-N-Pout Spoon. This lure is another great one for catching burbot. It is probably my second favorite. It is extremely heavy, and it really allows you to get your bait down to the bottom fast as heck. And if you guys can hear, it has a nice loud rattle on the inside that will attract those fish in from a long distance away. I love to use this lure as soon as the sun sets. It's completely dark out, but those fish really haven't moved in yet. It's a big spoon, so that's a nice big area that you'd be glowing up. With the rattle and the glow, you can really attract these fish in from a far ways away. It's really good for that first 30 minutes. You'll attract those fish in, and then you can substitute it for the jig head. And it'll keep those fish in the area, you know, looking around for the bait, for the chum. And you really catch fish on this very easily. But I primarily like to use the jig head once that 30-minute period is done. This is basically an attractant for me, but I can catch lots of fish on it. The glow paint job on this lure here is very good. I don't know how many coats is on here, but it's clearly a lot. It has never chipped for me. It has some cracks, but that's from a lot of years of usage. Lots of fish, and there's no chips on it whatsoever. It glows like you would never believe. Once you get a nice good light source on that, it'll glow for 10-15 minutes, no problem. Number three, the Phantom Lures Tilly. The Phantom Lures Tilly is a great active bait to use if you're looking to jig while you're fishing for burbot. I prefer to have my lures sitting on the bottom, but I know not everybody is going to agree with that, and a lot of people like to keep their baits active and moving. So this is a great bait to search into an area, because this bait will glide left and right a couple feet in a big radius, and it will really attract those fish into your area. Again, it has a very loud rattle that will attract lots of fish to your area. You can just put like a little minnow head right on this bottom treble hook here, and you will surely nail some fish on it. It won't be as productive as the jig head or the Trout-N-Pout, but if you want to keep your rod active, this is a very, very good bait to go with. It's also got a beautiful glow paint on it that will let you easily have access to the fish seeing your lure, and it will definitely catch you some fish. Number 4 is the VMC Rattle Spoon. This spoon is a great bait to use in those low light conditions, sunset and sunrise, but I would not advise using this in the darkest conditions once the sun is fully set and it's pitch black out. Sunrise and sunset is a great period to catch all sorts of species, especially walleye. This lure is also great to catch walleye, but I prefer to use it for burbot in those low light conditions, but you can also catch walleye. So it's good to fish for both species because they will both be found in the same depth. And I like this lure because with the UV and glow combined, it really attracts those fish in those low light conditions. Sometimes those burbot will come up a little bit earlier, but you don't want to switch to that Trout-N-Pout spoon just yet because you still have opportunity to catch a walleye, and you will not catch a walleye on that Trout-N-Pout spoon. Sure, it's possible, but your odds are pretty slim of catching one on that. So I would highly recommend using this lure. It's got a nice rattle once again. Definitely attracts some fish in those low light conditions, and it'll really help you catch some earlier fish. For number 5, we have the Mr. Champ, Cast Champ, Cast Master, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of names for this lure, but it's a very old favorite of mine that I've seen lots and lots of fish caught on, burbot, whitefish, and lake trout. It is a great daytime bait if you're planning on catching lakers, but you also want to catch some burbot. You set it up with a trailer hook, and you put dead minnow on that lure, and you will surely crush some fish. It's also a great option for at night if you don't feel like messing around with these glow lures. You have to take the time to use a light source to brighten them up and make them glow. If you would rather just use a normal lure, you can always use this with that beautiful shiny prism tape on it. It will really glow even in the dark. It'll make some nice reflections, and having that big heavy weight, if you plan on jigging it, it will really disturb that bottom of the lake, and it'll make some vibrations and movement that will attract those burbot, because burbot are not very good at seeing the baits because they pretty much live in the dark. So this bait really helps them when it's in those darker times, if you're not planning on using glow lures, to have that movement, vibration, whatever you really plan on doing to get those fish to hit the lure. In number 6, we have the traditional tube jig. So lastly, we have the tube jig. Any tube jig really works, but you would obviously want to use a glow one if you had the opportunity to use it. I don't use glow ones. I don't really use tube jigs for burbot fishing. I know people who do. I often avoid it because I simply resort to using my other lures primarily. But this is a great option if you're fishing during the day or the night for burbot, because a burbot will definitely hit this lure at all times if it has a trailer on it with a dead bait on it. And just like the Mr. Champ, it will pretty much always catch you a fish if it does come in. So it's a great option if you want to use it during the day or at night. Same with the Mr. Champ. Obviously, glow lures are more superior in my opinion, but you can always catch a fish on this. So that's all for this video covering my favorite lures to use for burbot fishing. Before the video ends, I would like to say that you can use all these lures in open water or during ice fishing. Burbot do feed best during the winter time because they are spawning during that late January, early February through till the end of March period, where you'll catch majority of your burbot, but you can catch them all year long. As long as you're finding those flats, fishing them at dark, you'll catch some fish. All the lures I've shown here, guys, will be down in the description with a link to the website and their name. So I hope you folks enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like down below. Please leave a comment to tell me what species you would like me to cover in the next video. And please hit that subscribe button, guys. It would mean a lot to me. Really support my channel. It would be awesome. So I hope you guys have a good one, and take care.